The mountains have always been my escape, a place where the world's noise fades into the whisper of the wind through the pines. I've hiked countless trails, always solo. There's a peace in solitude, a connection to nature that you just can't find in a crowd. That day, I chose a trail I hadn't walked in years, a winding path that snaked up to a ridge with a panoramic view of the valley. The air was crisp, the sky a brilliant, cloudless blue. It was perfect. I started my ascent in the late morning, taking my time, savoring the familiar burn in my legs and the scent of damp earth and pine needles. The forest was alive around me. Squirrels chattered, birds sang their complex melodies, and the occasional rustle in the undergrowth hinted at deer or some other shy creature. It was the symphony I'd come to love, the soundtrack to my solitude. By late afternoon, I reached the ridge. The view was even more breathtaking than I remembered. The valley spread out below like a patchwork quilt, dotted with farmhouses and sliced by a silver river. I sat on a familiar rock, pulled out my water and a sandwich, and just soaked it all in. The sun began its slow descent, painting the sky in fiery strokes of orange, pink, and purple. This was the moment I lived for, the reward for the long climb. As the light softened and the shadows grew long, a new kind of silence settled over the forest. The bird song quieted, replaced by the chirping of crickets. A chill crept into the air. I packed up my things, feeling that familiar, pleasant exhaustion, and turned to head back down the trail. That's when I felt it, that primal, ancient feeling of being watched. I froze, scanning the tree line. It's a common feeling in the woods, your brain playing tricks on you. Usually, a quick look around reveals nothing, and the feeling passes. But this time was different. I couldn't shake it. I scanned the trees again, my eyes moving slowly from trunk to trunk. And then I saw them, 2 points of light, catching the last rays of the dying sun. They were high up in the branches of a massive oak, much higher than any person could comfortably climb. They looked like eyes, animal eyes, I told myself. An owl, maybe, a raccoon, but they didn't blink. They just stared, unmoving, with a focused intensity that sent a cold spike of fear through my heart. They were too far apart, too intentional. My rational mind tried to take over. It's a reflection, I thought, not holes in the tree. Something, anything, other than what my gut was screaming at me. I took a few cautious steps back, my eyes locked on the 2 points of light. They didn't move. I squinted, trying to make out a shape around them, but the deepening twilight made it impossible. There were just the eyes, suspended in the darkness of the branches, watching me. I picked up my pace, my heart starting to hammer against my ribs. It's nothing, I muttered to myself, the words sounding hollow and unconvincing in the quiet woods. I didn't dare turn my back completely, so I walked sideways for a bit, craning my neck, keeping the spot in the oak tree in my peripheral vision. The eyes were still there. Then, I stumbled on a root. I yelped, catching myself before I fell. When I looked back up, the eyes were gone. A wave of relief washed over me, so powerful it almost made my knees buckle. "See," I whispered, a shaky laugh escaping my lips. Just your imagination. I turned and started walking normally, eager to get back to the familiar safety of the trailhead and my car. I walked for about 5 minutes, the path now bathed in the silvery light of the rising moon. The fear had subsided, replaced by a jittery adrenaline. I was chiding myself for being so easily spooked when a branch snapped loudly, just to my right. I jumped, spinning around. Nothing, just the dark, impenetrable wall of trees. "Hello," I called out, my voice trembling. "Is anyone there?" Only silence answered. But the feeling of being watched was back, stronger than ever. This time, it felt closer, my breath hitched. I started walking faster, my hiking boots crunching loudly on the gravelly path. My senses were on high alert. Every rustle of leaves, every hoot of a distant owl, sent a fresh jolt of panic through me. I kept glancing over my shoulder, into the woods on either side of the trail. Nothing, but the feeling persisted, a heavy, oppressive weight. Then, a movement caught my eye, not beside me, but above. I looked up, and my blood ran cold. There they were again, the eyes. They were moving, parallel to the trail, keeping pace with me. They weren't in the trees this time. They were moving asterisk through asterisk the canopy. They'd appear in a gap in the leaves, then disappear, then reappear a few yards ahead, always directly above me, they were following me from above. Panic, pure and unadulterated, seized me. This wasn't an animal. No owl or raccoon moves like that. The movement was fluid, silent, and impossibly fast. It was like a shadow flitting from branch to branch, a predator stalking its prey from the treetops. My mind reeled. What could move like that? What could be up there? I broke into a run. I didn't care about the roots or rocks on the path. I just ran. My lungs burned, my legs screamed in protest, but I didn't stop. I could hear my own ragged breaths and the frantic pounding of my feet. And above it all, I could still sense the movement. A silent, terrifying pursuit from the sky. Every few strides, I'd risk a glance upward. The eyes were always there, a constant, horrifying presence. They never wavered, never blinked. Just 2 points of cold, intelligent light tracking my every move. I ran faster, fueled by a terror I had never known. The friendly forest had transformed into a labyrinth of nightmares, and I was the mouse in the maze. I could see the faint glow of the parking lot lights through the trees ahead. Hope surged through me, just a little farther. I pushed myself harder, my body screaming in protest. The trail was getting wider, the trees thinning out. I was almost there. I burst out of the tree line and into the blessed, empty space of the gravel parking lot. I didn't stop running until I reached my car, fumbling frantically with my keys. My hands were shaking so badly, it took me 3 tries to get the key in the lock. I threw myself inside, slammed the door, and locked it. I sat there, panting, sweat pouring down my face, my heart feeling like it was going to explode. For a full minute, I just stared at the tree line, half expecting to see something emerge. But there was nothing, just the dark, silent trees, swaying gently in the night breeze. Slowly, my breathing returned to normal, but the terror remained, a cold knot in my stomach. I looked up, through my windshield, at the canopy of the trees I had just fled. And there, in a gap between the leaves, directly above the spot where the trail met the parking lot, I saw them, the 2 eyes. They were just watching, waiting. I slammed the car into drive and peeled out of the parking lot, tires spitting gravel. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. I couldn't. I just drove, my eyes fixed on the road, until the lights of the town appeared in the distance. I don't go hiking anymore. I can't. Sometimes, at night, when I look up at the dark trees in my own backyard, I feel it again. That cold, prickling sensation of being watched from above. And I wonder, was it just my imagination? Or is it still out there, in the high, dark branches, waiting? Thanks for sticking with my story today. It's one I'll clearly never forget. If you've ever had a creepy experience out in the wild, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. And if you enjoy spooky, true-life encounters, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Stay safe out there.